Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good Wednesday afternoon. I'm First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro with another look at your forecast here on this First Alert weather day. And we certainly have been tracking quite a bit of wind. It is that wind, which is why we have that First Alert weather day in place here for the remainder of the daytime. Now, past the wind, we're also still tracking some wintry weather in the forecast. So we have some lake effect snow showers that'll be picking up, especially as we close out the day today. That lake effect sticks around for tomorrow and into the early portions of Friday. But then also this weekend, we potentially could see even some more snow coming into mid-Michigan. So behind the wind today and then some of those snow showers tomorrow, the weekend is definitely going to be the next big thing that we'll be turning our attention to. We'll talk about the wind here first. So that First Alert weather day in place for the remainder of today. There actually are wind advisories from the National Weather Service for the entire TV5 viewing area. Those wind advisories will not be expiring until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So even through tonight, we're still going to hold on to some of these stronger gusts. We're tracking gusts that'll peak at about 45 to 55 miles per hour. So it certainly is going to be quite a windy remainder of the daytime here. And as we go into tonight, I can actually even show you a live look at US 10 right now. This is at the Fabiano Brothers building. So in the background there is the overpass for Mackinac Road. And you can definitely see with the flags blowing around quite a bit, this wind is still kicking pretty good for us out there. And this wind actually did pick up pretty quickly earlier this morning. Even as early as sunrise, we already had some gusts that were over 30. Earlier this morning, too, at about 7 o'clock, we actually had some gusts at MBS Airport, not too far from here, from the Fabiano Brothers building. Those gusts were recorded at 40 miles per hour. So again, that was pretty early this morning. We can go ahead and take a look at what our wind gusts are currently sitting at here across mid-Michigan, and they definitely are picking up quite a bit. So there's a look at our wind gusts live right now. 34 miles per hour recorded at MBS Airport, 37 at Port Hope, 29 miles per hour at Bishop Airport in Flint. Even at Bishop Airport, we did have some gusts that were over 35 miles per hour earlier this morning. But this wind is going to continue, and if you look off to the southwest side of the state towards Grand Rapids, you can see even more of that sort of purple or magenta shading on the map. That right there are even stronger gusts that should be able to migrate into our area as we go throughout the next couple of hours this afternoon. So again, pretty much from here, this wind is going to be sticking around for the remainder of today, and it's going to be a southwesterly wind that continues, but eventually as we go into tonight, we will start to see this wind turning a little bit more to the west, and then eventually this wind actually changes over to the northwest as we go into tomorrow. So we will see this wind direction veering just a little bit for us. And this is all kicked off by the cold front that moved through earlier this morning. So that cold front took us from the mid to upper 40s right at the start of the day, now down to the mid to upper 30s. So right now we are in some spots almost 10 degrees colder than where we started the day, and these temperatures are just going to continue to fall for the remainder of the daytime here too. By about 6 o'clock, I would estimate most of our temperatures are closer to about 33 or 34, and then they'll continue to fall down to about 30 degrees as we go into tonight. So really one of the big takeaways here for the rest of the day, not only from the wind, is that it will just continue to get colder. I know today is one of the biggest bar and restaurant days of the year. If you will be going out this evening, first we wish you safe travels, but also keep in mind it is going to continue to cool down. It'll feel more like the 20s by this upcoming evening with this strong wind factored in. So just continuing to get colder and then stay colder for tonight and for the remainder of this Thanksgiving week. Now, also with the strong wind that we've had, there have been a couple of just very spotty power outages coming in near the Grand Rapids area and also south towards Jackson. I would expect some more power outages to start to pop up into our area, especially later this afternoon or into the evening. If you live in an area that's a little more prone to these power outages on these very windy days, I think it's definitely something that can't be ruled out for today, just given how strong some of these gusts have already been and how strong we still expect them to be for the rest of today as well. So if you do have a generator and maybe you have a couple of minutes here this afternoon, you may fire it up real quick just to test it, make sure everything is still running properly with that. But certainly the wind causing the power outages, that is going to be a concern for us, and really that is one of the main concerns for why we have declared that first alert weather day, because of that power outage potential. I'll take you back to our first alert weather day graphic here too. I want to highlight that final bullet point at the end. The snow showers developing, some low visibility or even some slick roads are possible. So the lake effect, that is starting to come in from the west side of the state. And although a lot of snow accumulations for the rest of today or even this evening are going to be pretty minimal for us, we're talking pretty much a dusting or just a light coating. But with this wind factored in, the snow just adds another element to that, where we have some rapidly changing visibilities possible across our area as we go into the evening. So pretty much any spot where the snow is falling, you can expect some rapidly changing, not only visibilities, but even some roadway conditions. And I think that's especially going to have some potential between Clare and Houghton Lake, as that lake effect really starts to build up in those areas by the upcoming evening as well. And if you do have any travel coming up here this afternoon that's going to take you out of the TV5 viewing area, especially to the west side of the state, that's where we are expecting you to start to encounter some roadway impacts and some snowy roads, because in those spots, some of those snow showers have already been ongoing for several hours as of this point too. So we'll talk more about the lake effect that we expect for the rest of today and the next couple of days, and take a look at some snow totals too, all coming up right after this break. Alrighty, welcome back from that break. So we are tracking some lake effect that's starting to take over because of this wind direction now that the cold front passed through earlier this morning. So with it being lake effect, of course, I was mentioning just a little bit ago, if you have travel for the Thanksgiving holiday here that takes you to the west side of the state, especially if it's later today, you are going to encounter some snowier roads over on the other side of the state. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this here on the first alert pinpoint Doppler. And you can already see where we have some rainfall that's still been developing. That's actually some lake effect rain. It's snow on the west side of the state, but turning over to some rain showers between Owasso and Bridgeport and right near Chesaning too. The reason for that is just because some of these temperatures are still hovering just a few degrees above freezing here between the Bay region and Flint currently. But if you move out of our area to the west side of the state, you can see there Grand Rapids, north of Grand Rapids towards Newaygo and Muskegon and Sand Lake, even in the direction of Big Rapids too. We are seeing snow showers there, and that's been picking up quite a bit as that wind comes right off of Lake Michigan. The lake is completely unfrozen right now too, so that lake effect machine is actually pretty efficient for us right now, especially as our temperatures aloft just continue to cool down even more. So you can see that even between Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, some of those road conditions on 196 and even on US 131, those are certainly going to be snowy, a little bit more dicey as well. So all something to keep in mind if you're traveling out of our area later today in those directions. And even up towards northern Michigan, we can move the radar up to the northern parts of the lower peninsula. Not quite as widespread with some of the lake effect there, but that will be changing here as we go through the next couple of hours this afternoon, and then especially by this evening. And notice that rain and the snow is actually going to the northeast. Eventually that wind flipping around to the northwest will take those snow and rain showers to the southeast as we go into tonight. So here's a look at the first alert hour by hour, so kind of a visual on what we're expecting for the rest of the day. You see the snow showers especially still ongoing on the west side of the state, and we just have more of those scattered snow showers eventually meandering their way right into the TV5 viewing area. Then as we go into this evening, notice how there's that lake effect belt that starts to pick up near Houghton Lake, kind of across our northern counties, and that extends over to the Saginaw Bay and into the northern thumb. And that is one spot that I do want to point out too. If you're located around Ubly or Bad Axe, Port Austin, Port Hope, any of those areas, you definitely do have a chance for some of the stronger lake effect to also make it to your area. In fact, as that snow comes across the northern parts of the lower peninsula, it almost regenerates a little bit across the Saginaw Bay, so then that's where you see some of that lake enhancement or lake effect for the northern thumb as well. So I do want to point that out if you do happen to be located there. But back over to the first alert hour by hour. Notice how this pattern pretty much just continues for us as we go throughout the remainder of tonight and as we go into the daytime tomorrow. And as we go throughout your Thanksgiving, especially for those usual lake effect spots, you're going to have these snow showers continuing. So I will say tomorrow for Thanksgiving, if you're going to be around the Flint, Fenton, or Grand Blanc area, while you could have a stray flurry from time to time, you certainly won't have as much snow as some of those northern and western areas. Now by Friday, we'll still have a few lingering lake effect snow showers, but they are pretty isolated by this point. In fact, by the end of the day on Friday, we do expect the snow showers to come to an end completely, so we will catch a little bit of a break there right at the end of the week. Then as we go into the upcoming weekend, we are tracking another potential storm system on the way. Now, snow totals here, these are from now all the way until 8 o'clock on Friday morning. So this is a several day total, but I do want to point out that 6 to 12 range that we have near Roscommon County, that is solely due to the lake effect in that area. Of course, with that does lead to some locally higher totals. See how quickly those totals are dropping off as you go across our northern counties. So Oscoda or even around Tawa City, I think you could still see perhaps up to about 2 inches of snow by Friday morning, but definitely not quite as much as the Houghton Lake or Roscommon or St. Helen areas. Even around West Branch or Rose City, I think 2 to 5 is possible there, but of course some of those highest totals will be a little bit more localized. It all just depends on where exactly some of those heaviest lake effect belts will line up. Outside of there, the majority of the remainder of our area is still on track for just about a trace to 2 inches as well. So still not very significant with these snow totals here in the Bay region or for our southern communities. Now in the thumb, we do have 1 to 4 highlighted there. I do actually think the majority of the thumb will be closer to about 1 to 2 inches, but that 4-inch total, that comes in for those areas in the northern thumb. As I was mentioning, places like Ubly or Bad Axe or Port Austin, pretty much anywhere, especially if you go towards that north shore of the thumb, that's where you could have some of those totals approaching 4 inches by Friday morning, and that's just because of that lake effect that will continue to move through those spots just a little bit more. Now with this weekend system too, this is something that we have first alert weather days possible for right now, but I will say the agreement on that system is continuing to increase just a little bit more. But I do have some more details to break down with that system here. We'll take another break, this one shorter, just a 30-second break, but that'll be, we'll talk some more details on that weekend, again, coming up right after the break. Alrighty, welcome back from that quick break. So we are tracking some more details for the weekend for you here too. This is another storm system that's potentially heading our way for mid-Michigan, and we're talking a widespread accumulating snowfall with this. So we do have first alert weather days possible right now for both Saturday and Sunday. Quite honestly though, I do think it is pretty likely at this point. We don't really want to issue an alert day today just because we want to avoid any confusion with the alert day that we currently have for the wind. But I do think at some point tomorrow, as long as everything still holds on like we're seeing it, we will be likely issuing our full-on first alert weather days for Saturday and Sunday at some point tomorrow. But this does look to be a snowfall that you'll need to have the shovel and even the snowblower ready to go. We're seeing remarkable consistency with this system as of this point, and even some of our high resolution models are just starting to reach this system, although it is still a few days away, but they are just barely starting to reach into the weekend, and even those models are also agreeing with what some of these longer range models are showing. So there's just a comparison between two of the main models that we use, the GFS, you can essentially call that the American model, and then we have the Euro model on the right side of the screen. But notice how these are showing snowfall pretty much identically for Saturday. The time frame here on your screen is at about 10 o'clock on Saturday evening. So we do expect Saturday morning to actually still be pretty quiet regardless of how this ends up shaping out here with the snowfall. Then as we go towards lunchtime, that's where we'll see some cloud coverage continuing to build up, and then the snow should start to move in over the course of the afternoon, especially the late afternoon on Saturday. So even though it is a little bit early, that does look to be more of our current timing with that snowfall right now. But that should be a widespread snow with all of our temps staying below freezing on Saturday, so that should be all snow as it moves into mid-Michigan, though with temperatures near 30 to 31 degrees during the afternoon on Saturday, that does mean that some of that snow is expected to be perhaps a little bit more on the wetter side. So I'd say with our ratios about an 8-to-1 or a 10-to-1 snowfall, but that is what we're expecting as we go towards the upcoming weekend for now. Now, what we're also seeing with the system for the weekend, and again, this is if the storm track continues to hold on, this snow could go all the way into Sunday morning, possibly not winding down until about lunchtime on Sunday too. The radar should still look a lot like this even on Sunday morning. So with that, those totals will continue to add up for us. And even though it is a bit early for any sort of exact totals or even a map for our area too, because it is, again, just too far out to concretely put a map out there, but at least with the moisture that we're seeing in our models and with our temperatures and just with the duration of the snowfall too, this does look like it could be about a 6-inch snowfall, perhaps even a little bit more for many areas of mid-Michigan. So that would be our total by Sunday morning. So again, definitely still think this is going to be a snowfall that you'll need to have your shovel and your snowblower ready to go. But again, after our first alert weather day today with the wind, then we'll be able to hone in on some of those details even more for the upcoming weekend. But the big takeaway with that is that the confidence for that weekend snow is continuing to go up, and you've probably seen some talk online about this already too. It certainly is a possibility still here for the weekend, and we have been discussing that fact since the beginning of this week. So it is a system that we've had in our models for a while, and everything is still holding on pretty steadily with that. But overall, just much more wintry here in the forecast as we go forward. So the 30s that we're falling into now, those will stick around for the remainder of the week and as we go into the upcoming weekend. So highs from here, pretty much just low to mid 30s. And then behind that weekend system, we cool down even more. We're actually tracking highs in the mid-20s by Monday and Tuesday of next week, and the longer-term guidance does support this cold weather sticking around into the early portions of December. So it does look like today is almost sort of like the start of some of this wintry weather, as it is expected, or rather this pattern is expected to stick around here a little bit into the longer term as we go into the early portions of December. But of course, for the rest of today, just drive safely if you are traveling anywhere for Thanksgiving, and just remember again that wind is still going to be pretty strong, so you'll especially have a crosswind on I-75 and on US 10, more of a headwind on I-69 if you'll be heading towards Lansing. And then after this, it is going to be the lake effect coming in. with the lake effect snow totals. Again, the snow totals from our lake effect here, with the exception of Houghton Lake, still not very impressive across our area, but given the lake effect nature and the wind that we have, that does still mean some rapidly changing visibilities and road conditions are possible, especially by this evening and as we go into tomorrow. But we wish you a happy and a safe Thanksgiving, and if you're traveling for the upcoming weekend as well, we do wish you safe travels, and be sure to tune right back in here on the live stream desk. The rest of the week we'll still keep you updated with what we're expecting with any potential snow for the weekend, and Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick will be right back here on the live stream at 9 o'clock this evening, or rather Meteorologist Stone Schaefer will be here, and he'll also bring you some more updates for the upcoming weekend. Until then, have a great afternoon and stay warm.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.